behind our castle walls. Fast forward to the siren in the distance, getting closer by the minute. Will you stand and answer to the call? Burn like a fire, willful and wild. This is the night that you were made for. Don't close your eyes, safer to stare into the sun than to turn away from what you could become. This was once a perfect symphony, soft and steady like a heartbeat. But these notes turn dissonant and sour, getting violently devoured. So will you stand or let the curtain fall? Burn like a fire, willful and wild. This is the night that you were made for. Don't close your eyes, safer to stare into the sun than to turn away from what you could become. The time has come to stand and fight for what you believe, for what you believe. The dark will fall and we will rise. Like a fire, willful and wild. This is the night you were made for. Burn like a fire. This is the night that you were made for. Don't close your eyes, safer to stare into the sun than to turn away from what you could be. The time has come to stand and fight, deconstruct, reignite. Safer to stare into the sun than to turn away from what you could become.
Four drivers have been eliminated from contention in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series playoffs, and that leaves 12 of iRacing's best to go head-to-head. Over the next 3 races, we'll decide who the best 8 are in this campaign and who will be walking away with the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series Championship. We welcome you to Virtual Texas, and we welcome you to RaceSpotTV's coverage of the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. We're happy that all of you are joining us here wherever you're tuning in live tonight. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the booth tonight is Austin Coop. And Austin, this championship was turned on its head in Bristol. Yes, Agnell Phillip walks away with the victory, but looking immediately at the standings heading into tonight's race, a big name is missing, and that is the name of Matt Danson. Penalties have knocked him out of playoff contention, and Brandon Fetterplace qualifies in P12 to join the remaining 11 in the round of 12.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. You know, Dylan and I discussed how there might be some ramifications for that, some of those actions that happened, and that certainly has taken place over the last 6 days. And so when you're Fetterplace, you are now in you have a shot again to make something happen. And you could say that, oh, you don't deserve it, or you could say that, you know what, I was pretty dang close, and so I can be your number 13th Jeff Gordon this time around, if you will. And so he's got a shot. But the great thing is, when you look at this right now, everyone's on even footing except for Philip. But even then, that's only 3 places that he's got an advantage of, and that could easily be taken away very quickly. So clean the slate, get everything off your chest, and if you had a bad couple weeks last round, but you're still in it, you've got it, and you just have to, kind of restart your momentum, get going. But if you have momentum, maybe you've lost a little bit, and you just got to keep it going in here to Texas, which is a very challenging track.
Agno Philip, the only playoff driver to get a win in that round of 16. The other 2 races were taken up by the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver in Kevin King. But there is your final driver to make the round of 12, and it was in the admin room post-race for the Bowie Esports, number 34 of Brandon Fetterplace. We'll see how he does tonight and how he does in the round of 12. Currently 5th fastest on the speed charts as we continue and begin with the qualifying tonight. About 2.5 minutes remaining for these drivers to get their laps in. It's Sam Nieto that currently holds that fastest time. Agno Philip now getting his first couple of times in, and he still having a bit of those network issues. We saw that last week. Austin, how's that going to affect him here at a 1.5 mile track at Texas?
Well, when it comes down to a track like this, yeah, you clearly, ghosted there for a second. But when you're at a track like this, usually you're not the one that has the problem. It's usually the drivers around you that don't know where you are, or unfortunately maybe get hit by the you that's not there, that the server thinks that you're there. So it sometimes it's more of an issue for drivers that are not. I personally have had issues whenever I've been driving. Other people are like, hey, that this is happening to you. But the good thing about him is he's acknowledged the issue, one, and the second thing is that if race control says, hey, you've got an issue, just like in the real world, if you've got an issue, make sure you're not a hazard to everybody, because it's hard to know what to do, what line to take when you do have a driver in front of you that you don't even know where they are. But yeah, we're watching qualifying right here in the 52. Sean Casto, he's taking his first lap, so we'll see how well he does. We've got just a little over a minute left in qualifying, and Casto being one of those drivers. He's been a part of the RealSimRacing series a long time. I used to race with him a number of years ago in this series when I was full-time here, and oh wow, he got the white line just barely, and that's not gonna be a good time. You might want to reset there, buddy.
He hasn't hit the wall, but
he hasn't hit the white line yet either, so he's going to get another shot at it.
He will have another opportunity at a lap, but does he get around in time? He's got 40 seconds to do so. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get around. He's going to try all that he might, but with 30 seconds left on the clock and about 30 seconds a lap, I don't think he's going to get around to take the green flag. But Agno Philip, top of the board, 29.873. Sam Nieto in second, and it's a lot of playoff drivers, 10 of them to be exact, within that top 10. Who is going to walk away with the win at the end of this race? And I'll address the small elephant in the room. Evan Basoko, normally in the play-by-play chair, is not tonight. He is in Charlotte. He still is in the booth with us, at least in spirit. He is still race controlling, just unfortunately not able to join us in the booth tonight. But we're ready to go racing here at Virtual Texas, and we'll take a look at your full starting grid as we get ready to race tonight. And on the pole position, it is Agno Philip. What a lap by the A51 Pro, number 94. He will lead us to the green flag with Sam Nieto on the outside of the opening row. Michael Johnson and Cody Harris sharing third and fourth. Michael Araya and Thomas George. So the first opening 3 rows, Austin.
Yeah, we're going to have Better Place starting in 7th. That's not a bad starting spot for him. Grant Davis in 8th. Bradley Burt 9th. Ross Cato is going to end out your top 10. And then Manatsi Major, I don't know if that's right, but I'll say that we can correct me later. And then Brett Pankari in 12th.
It is Manazzi Major, and one of the drivers that almost made the playoffs, unfortunately couldn't in this season. Eric Papineau and Steve Tucker going to share the 7th row. It's Tom Wetmore, Sean Kalis in 15th and 16th. Richard Wolsifer, the last driver to take a time in qualifying, and there is the playoff spoiler himself, Kevin King, starting in P18 and all the way down at the bottom of the field. More drivers that didn't take a lap in qualifying. That's Landon Mills, Eric Stanford, and Sean Casto. And that is your Get Wet Sports starting grid. GetWetSports.com is the world's first digital content library that showcases and celebrates creators of all sizes and backgrounds, including iRacing, military gamers, and women in gaming. Getting listed is free. Find out more at GetWetSports.com and start on your content creation journey today. 134 laps are on the docket for this evening's race here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. 4 tire sets in the pits. Everybody will have 100% fuel capacity as well, with the amount of tires in the pit lane sitting at 4 for each of these drivers as we get ready to go green tonight. Weather on the track as well. Around default iRacing weather, a little bit cooler as well. 67 degrees Fahrenheit as we get ready to take the green flag off. And I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of the people in real life at Texas and the drivers at Texas wanted over the last weekend, and not 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, I've had that when I've been at Kansas Speedway. That was some very tough conditions, but 67 on the track, you're going to see a lot of grip, and then 3 and 4, you might see these guys go full out, actually, full throttle through turns 3 and 4 for the first few laps. But pace car's away, take it away.
And we are getting ready for the opening round of the round of 12 in the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series playoffs, and we go racing at Texas.
Wow, the outside lane did not go. Sam Nieto was sleeping or in 3rd gear something, so the first 4 drivers basically got a freebie there, and so no too wide racing until you get to the number 6 of Thomas George. That's going to be your first side-by-side action, and then in front of him looks like the 28 of Cody Harris and the 44 of Michael Area. They're going to be nose to tail as well, but the first 5 drivers really kind of ducked out from everybody else.
They ducked out, I think, about as quickly as they could. And now at the front, as everybody sits very close together to start this race, is Michael Johnson in 2nd, Lariah there in 3rd, with Brandon Fetter placed in a battle with Sam Nieto. He's already having to get accustomed to more playoff racing. Did not think he would make into the round of 12 out of the round of 16. He was only a handful of points out. But with the issues with Matt Danson, with the penalties coming to him after Bristol, he is able to qualify into this round of the playoffs. But now, Austin, that pressure is just beginning, as he now has to try and get through this round. And then if he gets through the round of 12 and into the round of 8, he's then going to have even more work as he goes and tries to qualify for the championship 4.
Yeah, a lot of work, but it's for a good reason, of course, and he's able to battle for a championship for a little bit longer. And right now in the third, or the battle for 3rd, it looks like Nieto is trying to take back what was his earlier on with from the mistake he had, and so he's going to probably take 3rd here. And yes, he's clear. Fetter place, puts the bumper on the back of, that is the 39 of Michael Johnson, it appears. So that got a little hairy. He probably put it down there a little bit too early on for a race like that, but he's actually going to let him go. So put Brandon Fetter place up to 4th.
He boldly wanted that spot, and he does get it, as Agnell Phillip still leads the way, but it's Michael Araya that is trying to chase him down. We know that in real life Texas and at virtual Texas, that passing can end up being pretty much a premium. Can't really do much in 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is going to be a little bit easier to make those passes, but as they go into 3, Austin, not flat out, a little bit of a lift of the throttle, but Lariah is trying to close up on the back bumper of Agnell Phillip to look for the lead early. We know you got to pass Agnell whenever you can, and he hits the grass as he goes for a pass heading into 1.
Yeah, try to enter Dale Earnhardt. He's got the inside, and so he'll take the pass, and it looks like the number 94 is just going to kind of let him go. And that's a smart move at this point. You know, if he's gonna, you know, make that big of an issue and he's faster, let him go by, save your tires, see if you can get him back later. But that was well executed. He almost didn't make it happen though. He actually caught his bumper a little bit, touched the grass, was a little premature on that pass, but made it happen. And so he's now your leader.
More playoff drivers behind as we take a look at the battle between drivers that are currently not in the playoffs. That's Thomas George, Amanatsi Major with Ross Cato in the 12, getting to the inside. Looks for the spot, does not get the spot, and he will not stay side by side with Major heading into turn 3. He will duck out at the tail end of the top 10. Phillip has not let Lariah get too far away just yet, but as we go on a lap number 8, it's Nieto, Fetter Place, and Johnson through the top 5. Bradley Burke is on the back bumper of the 39 at Johnson. Burke, another one of those drivers that admittedly Austin kind of just squeaked his way into this round. We did not know if he would qualify until Bristol, and luckily had a really good night in that number 95 Get Wet Sports Chevy Camaro to qualify himself into the round of 12. But he's one of those drivers, I think, along with the Grant Davis, along with the Thomas George, along with a Brandon Fetter Place, that really have a lot more work to do if they want to show that they're one of the elite 8 that can compete for a championship.
Exactly, and with the way the race is going now, it's pretty calm, but these passes are happening out of the corners. It looks like the 95 has got something going on. He's went from 9th to 6th here at the beginning of this one, and he was on the inside, so he kind of fell back a little bit, or he had some troubles on the original start, but he's, you know, right there with them, and it's single file down into turns 1 and 2 right here. But it's anything but really when you go into turn 1. There's so many lines you have, and you're watching. Actually, that looks like it's going to be the 34 of Better Place. He's going to have a little bit of an issue coming out of the corner, and maybe he's wearing his tires out a little bit more than his competitors. So we're going to see side by side into turn 3 and 4, and that pass is going to be executed by Johnson right here for sure.
Good pass made as he works his way now right behind the number 39, just barely, and top 2 trying to separate themselves, but not really doing that great of a job of it just yet, as they still have Sam Nieto about a 2/10 now back, and Phillip loses a ton of time off of turn number 2. That brings him even further back, as Landon Mills sits at the front now in that 10th spot. Ross Cato has only lost 1 spot from where he began, but he still is losing some ground. He's got the 00 of Steve Tucker behind, but does not look good for one of our round of 12 playoff drivers.
No, certainly not, and it's getting congested right here. I know that we don't have a whole lot of drivers out on the track, but it is getting quite congested, and so because the 82 had an issue off the corner, he's now losing spots, and that's not something you want to do. And we've had a couple checkups, a couple of bobbles between drivers, nothing major. I mean, nothing, no one getting sideways, no one catching any half spins or anything like that, but you know, a lot of slowing down, starting up, and you can see the different lines going into 1. I mean, the bottom is definitely the place you want to be early on in the run, but this outside lane is actually starting to work a little bit for some of these guys. Since you're seeing Cato get past the 82, you're seeing the number 26 get by the 6 car right there. That'd be Thomas George, and yeah, a bunch of places. Look at the 95 getting another spot right there.
Brandon Fetter Place goes up to the top of the racetrack, trying to get some stuff done in the middle lane, but that did not work out, I think, as he was hoping it would. If you want to talk about drivers that have lost a ton off the start, you can look back to the number 28 of Cody Harris. That is 11 spots that he has dropped from the drop of the green flag. He's down in P15 at the moment, and we take a look at those live standings. He sits outside of that cut line as battle for the lead goes the way of Agnell Phillip. Back to the front for the 851 Pro number 94. That battle for the cut line is not as interesting as it would be before we get to the Roval in Charlotte, Austin, where we're really watching it in an elimination race. But this could be the round that sets you up for the rest of the round to 12. If you get a good finish here, maybe you don't have to worry so much at Talladega. Maybe you don't need to show off your road course prowess at the Roval. You can kind of breeze your way into the round of 8, especially off of a win that'll guarantee you a spot.
Yeah, this is, I think, the track that you can be in the most control of your destiny right now, and just because of the fact that it's like most of the other tracks. I mean, if you're going to be in the top 16, top 12, top 8, top 4 of the series, you usually have to be good at the mile and a half, even if they are a little bit different, like Texas is turns 1 and 2. That's what makes this track unique. And when you get down to these tracks that are a little bit more unpredictable, do you have a cushion? And that's what this Texas race is going to help people out with, is that, you know, do you get that little buffer? Do you get the win that takes you all the way? Or are you going to find yourself in a pit? And you definitely don't want that, of course. But definitely right where these guys are standing, you saw the points earlier. Definitely a reason to be, if you're losing spots, definitely something you don't want to be thinking about. You just want to continue to race. We're only 17 laps in, and some of these drivers might be holding their cards a little bit longer than others. We would think Kevin King, he's in 10th place right now. You would think maybe he's going to charge later on, but knowing the way he runs these races, we actually have one in the grass right here. But it looks like Kevin is taking his time, and that appears to be Eric Stanford, I believe, that was in the grass.
Might have been Eric Papineau either as well. We might be able to grab a look back and see exactly what happened. I believe it was Papineau, so we're going to take a look at a focus of the 37. And if it was him that went off track, well, no, and he gets loose off of 4, and that is a small trip through the grass. Luckily, that front end, that front splitter can't dig into the grass like in real life on the iRacing service, so the 37 walks away scot-free, but I know that might have been not exactly the moment he was looking for, as we've got a side-by-side battle between two more of our playoff drivers. That's Thomas George up top. That's Brandon Better Place that loses another spot, and he now goes negative on the day down into P8. He's one spot behind where he started, P7. Battle for the lead is back on as Michael Lariah is 3/10 back.
Yeah, Better Place is in trouble right here. He was on the bottom side there in turns 1 and 2, and he actually got tight, almost got into the 6 of Thomas George. So if that tells you how he's handling on the bottom with his car on the outside, I mean, if you're the 24 and you see that, you just get to the outside. But he's got somebody on the inside. That's Kevin King. You should play the Jaws music when you feel like it, but I don't think you have the rights or titles to that, do you?
I'm not going to chance it, but we will go on board with Kevin King in the 29. He's been the playoff spoiler, walked away with 2 wins in the round of 16, and he was not eligible for the playoffs based on participation requirements. I think he'd be the favorite for the championship if he did race enough, but of course running this season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well just wasn't in the cards for him to run a full schedule here on Monday nights in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, but we've seen him as of late be really the driver to watch with 2 wins, almost 3, as he almost won it at Bristol, but wasn't able to grab the win.
Yeah, and if you weren't around to hear what happened to him, his daughter actually had a slice on her hand and was bleeding, so completely understandable for him to get out of the car as soon as he did, and unfortunately that did cause a caution and created a great race for us watching. It created a fantastic thing for us to be a part of, but what we're witnessing right now behind him is the number 34 Better Place. He just tagged the wall just a little bit. Like I said earlier, he's struggling with these tires. We're about 23 laps on them now, and if this continues to go green like it looks like, he might not be doing so hot. So just keep our eyes on him. There's some battling going on ahead of King. King looks like he's going to go to the inside of the 6 right here for position. And yeah, there's going to be comers and goers at this track because of the wear and how tough this track is on your tires.
Still side by side. King gets that clear spot on Thomas George. Agno Phillip puts about 5/10 to the board, try and pull away at the front of the field, and a battle for seconds now on between Sam Nieto and Michael Lariah as they hit the wall a little bit on the back straightaway. Lariah trying to catch back up to the back bumper of the 2 of Nieto. Not exactly as close as I think he wants to be, with Mills and Johnson still pretty close together. Bradley Burks in this fight. Everybody's spreading out, but I kind of want to call it oval spreading out. Everybody's relatively close together. Top 10 separated by about 2 seconds. But at least here at Texas, there's no major braking zones. There's no real anything to sync them up a little bit more. that they're kind of just stuck in these pockets of 2/10, 3/10, maybe even 1/10 at some points, but they're all running so close together in lap time that until we see a lot more tire fall off, we're not going to see a whole lot of passing as Kevin King goes for a move on Bradley Burke, who runs about a lane up, and that's an easy way for King to get that move done, as Burke's not looking to play any real defense just yet.
Yeah, and if we're able to watch him go through turns 1 and 2, he's doing it different than everybody else. He's staying down the white line and not using too much throttle and not too much of his momentum to go into one. It's very easy and very deceiving to go into turn 1 and use a lot of wheel, but he's so much lower than everybody else, and he's a lot smoother too, and he lets the car drift up in the middle of the corner, as you're seeing right there, and then he comes right back down to the bottom. He's just not using his tires as much as everybody, and that's just the name of the game when you run these long runs, and that's why he's catching everybody. And the 26 and this 39, they've been going to battle. That's Mills and Johnson, but they're going to be swallowed up here if they don't figure it out here in a second.
That's Kevin King right on the back bumper as he tries to look to the inside. He will look to the inside. A great run off of 4 to put himself up and into the top 5. That's 13 spots gained on the night. Surprisingly, not the biggest mover. That goes to Landon Mills at this stage. He's up 15 spots from where he began. It's about to be 14. It's about to be a tie with Kevin King as King makes quick work of the driver that is now in 5th. Kevin King up to P4 as we put 28 laps behind us here from virtual Texas. It's Agnell Phillip that leads the way, network issues and all, with Sam Nieto in that number 2 Ford Mustang looking to chase him down. But at this stage, tires still wearing, and I don't think we're going to see much just yet until that fuel window opens and we see some pit stops under either the green flag or the C word flag, depending on when we get that.
Yeah, you can't say it, man. You can't
I'm not gonna commentators curse like a certain play-by-play commentator I know.
Yeah, and then we do have a battle. It looks like the 39 has finally got under the 26. He said, "I'm tired of sitting behind you," and he gets the job done. And so Landon Mills is going to fall victim to no longer being in the top 5, which isn't the end of the world. We got a long race ahead of us, and I think now what everybody is beginning to understand is that this is a long green flag run. It looks like the 6 just might have tagged the wall out of turn 4, the 24 on the bottom. He's going to make quick work of that, but there's, like I said earlier, there's comers and goers, and the goers are definitely making themselves be present right now.
Tap to the wall for Thomas George. He doesn't lose too much spots, but he does lose time as Cato and Harris go battling into turn number 3. Not even a third of the way through this race just about, as we still have a solid amount of laps left before we're even talking about halfway. But joining us in the booth now, first time since Darlington and fresh off of the World of Outlaws Thrustmaster Sprint Car Series qualifying series, it's Terry Radford joining us again in the booth. Terry, thanks for taking more time out of your Monday night to join us as you normally do here on RaceSpotTV. And we've got a lead battle with Agnell Phillip and Sam Nieto starting to brew.
Yeah, might be just a little bit late to the party for RSR, but it's playoff time. It's Texas, and for Sam Nieto getting right there to the back bumper of Agnell Phillip. I've been watching along. You take a look there right behind it. Kevin King's making a charge through this field on the 44 of Lariah. I put nothing past Kevin King in that 29 machine, looking for more wins and to spoil the playoff party. And for the old smoky moonshine driver of Sam Nieto, lead some laps, get those points, build yourself a safety net, Josh. Put your way or bank your way into the next round, and because I think we already know what looms next week, Talladega. These drivers just want to survive the Lone Star State and what could possibly be the worst racetrack in the history of racetracks.
I don't disagree. I'm not going to say I agree yet. I don't disagree.
This man tells no lies, eh?
That's what they pay me the money for, is to come in here and tell the truth. I've just never understood this racetrack as a whole. It's kind of like watching the Tennessee Titans play football. You know you're going to be disappointed, but you kind of get your hopes up, and that's the way it is watching racing around Texas. Is you want it to be good,
94 right
and it
here.
just doesn't.
94 right here, out of shape, internet issues. He's actually purposely gone out of the lead because of his internet issues, and so that's going to leave Sam Nieto to the lead. Sorry to cut you off there, Terry. That was just, it was very jarring to see, and now we got a new leader. Sam Nieto's going to get some bonus points here.
That's Sam Nieto to the race lead. Kevin King to second place. Agnell Phillip back to third. Smart decision, I think, for the number 94 to get out of the gas and kind of let Nieto go, let King go, because he was having network issues at the front of the field. That's a very tough battle for Sam Nieto to watch that out of his windshield, as Agnell Phillip has more issues down the back straightaway. It's hard to battle with a driver that you don't really know exactly where they are.
And I think the toughest part is if you're having them here at Texas, or are you going to have them next week at Talladega? Is somebody going to be willing to push you? Or are you going to have to sit in the back of the field next week and just kind of hope that you don't lose touch with that draft? It'll be interesting to watch. I can't wait. I'll be a little bit late to the party next week as well, maybe about 20 or so minutes, but you always got to come home where you can get home. But look at the drivers that's currently sitting inside this top 7, top 8, and even the top 10. Cato's doing a good job, has progressed throughout the season. Cody Harris, I would honestly say, if you think Cody Harris is having a sophomore slump of some sorts, last season we talked about him in the top 5 each and every week, and it was one of the toughest fields, Josh, that we had ever seen in RSR competition. Didn't get the win that he was looking for at Bristol, and look at him, he's right back here, just slipped here behind Landon Mills. Has a good opportunity as the battle for the lead between Kevin King and Sam Nieto heats up by 1/10 of a second.
Across the stripe
Kevin
into
King's
turn number
getting there,
1 as Nieto is leading over King, but not by a lot.
No, not by a lot, but he's made a couple swipes at it, and you know, King, he's just going to take his time with it. I mean, shoot, we still have over almost 100 laps to go still, and he's going to find his place to make the pass. And you can see where he's making the time up. He's a little bit lower on that white line without touching it, and I think he's going to have it right here as the 2 gets a little sideways. Battle for the lead, 29 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and he's just going to let him go. He cracks the throttle, and there you go. That was over as soon as we started talking about it.
I don't think that was a tough decision for Nieto to make.
Yeah, well, Kevin King, I mean, you're not holding off any NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for that long. And I think Sam Nieto kind of understood the position that he was in. He's got a driver that's right behind him sitting there in the 94 that's having connectivity issues that, you know, blinking in and out like you can't see me type John Cena style. You don't know what to do. So in this situation, you know you're racing for a championship. You're racing for the win, but obviously you got to think points as well. And if you're the 44 Michael Araya, are you like, man, I really need to get around this 94? The same thing with Johnson. If you're the 39 to the 44, you're like, all right, we got to try to make as quick work of Agnell as possible, so that way he doesn't have a connectivity issue right in front of the field.
Yeah, when you're the 44, you've also got the 39 of Michael Johnson right behind you too, breathing down your neck. And so, like, yeah, like you said, you gotta hop on that mic and tell him what's up, and just tell him, hey, you gotta get out of the way. Because at some point, I feel like this, you know, I haven't read the rule book since I've come on board this season, and it might have changed since I wrote it 4 or 5 years ago. But there might be something going on that needs to go on with the 94, because you just can't be out there half here, half there. So something to keep our eyes on, but he's still keeping pace. That's the most important thing. He's staying safe, he's keeping pace. But talking about pace, this top 5, they are clearing the field. I mean, it's them and then nobody else until the 95, and then they spread out big time. We've got 2 retirements already. Richard Wolfsifer, I'll do that my best. 8 laps down, and he's he's at 20th scored, and then Steve Tucker, a lot easier name to say, 13 laps down, 21st. Those are our 2 first drivers that are pretty much out of it at this point.
A 00 eliminated last week from playoff competition, was not able to advance on through Bristol. But on the topic of the 94 of Agnell Phillip, he mentioned last week that he tried to get the internet issues fixed. He was working on it through the week. Nothing really came to bout with that, and now keeping pace, like you mentioned, Austin, in 3rd. But I have to wonder is this going to be the race that is the blemish on the season for Agnel Phillip? He really hasn't had one yet, Terry. I mean, it's not very often we're talking about Agnel Phillip realistically finishing outside the top 5. Even when it seems like he's having a bad night, checkered flag flies, and the A51 Pro Chevy is within the top 5 when that checkered flag falls. Is this going to be a night where maybe his internet connection fully has him lose connection to the service? Is it one where he pulls off the racetrack saying, hey guys, I can't keep my network stable, I'm not going to ruin your race, I'm going to pull off the track?
Well, I'm not sure he's going to necessarily want to do that, but you know what would really curious is if he switched on over to the Xfinity 10G network of things as the official partner of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I mean, he has the opportunity, he has the speed. There's a reason we're talking he's the defending champion. There's a reason we talk that he's the defending Winter Series champion. There's also a reason that we talk about he had the most wins coming into the playoffs, and while he was the only driver that was able to capitalize on a win in the first round coming into this round, and he doesn't want to find himself in a position, Josh, and I know we probably touched on this before, but I wasn't here. He didn't want to put himself in the Matt Danson position, where Matt Danson is not in this field based off of something that happened, you know, last week. If you put yourself in that position where now you have to go into Talladega, obviously the Charlotte Roval for Danson potentially is going to move him into the next round with Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville, but you don't put yourself in that one. But if he just went and got Xfinity 10G, I think we could clear all this up.
I mean, we know Agnel is as fast as Xfinity Internet. Maybe he just needs to put the subscription where his mouth is.
Put 1 to 2, right? Put 1 to 2, and then we make 3, right?
Agnel still closing in on Sam Nieto, but how aggressive is he going to be in this battle? And Terry, you mentioned Matt Danson. Well, we can say he might be back with us in about 2 races time. It is an active suspension after what happened in Bristol, including this race. It's 2 races remaining, so basically the entire round of 12. Don't expect to see Matt Danson at the final road course race of the season at the Charlotte Roval. Maybe we'll see him back once we head to Homestead and once we get through Martinsville and the final round races of the round of 8, and then advance into the championship 4 in Phoenix. But nevertheless, not going to be seeing an Altus Chevy out on the track, but still are seeing that A51 Pro Chevy of Agnel Phillip, as long as he's allowed to stay on the racetrack. Battle further back, Ross Cato and Thomas George battling for P11 as Cato almost knocks the fence down coming off of 4. I think he saved it. No damage to the 12, but Thomas George, fellow Ford Mustang, gonna try and muscle his way around the outside of 1 and 2.
That was a good hit on the right side, and we'll have to see how much that affects him. But at this point, when you are 7 seconds behind the leader, now outside the top 10, and he's going to fall to 12th here, realistically, you've got to just put yourself into long game mode. They should be able to split this race in half, I believe. It's going to be around 60 or so laps. Yes, yeah, it'll be 60 or so laps here, Terry. And you're seeing some drivers that have taken fuel and tires already, that being the 56 and the 82 and the 43. They have come down pit road, so you're going to see them start to slice through the field, but that's not just because they're sun to tons much better than everybody else, because that's proper English, but because they have better, more, they have new rubber on their cars, and they'll have to come down pit road again, though. I don't think they can make this another stop. They have to come down pit road again, so I don't think this is the right strategy for them.
Yeah, and I love it when I get to talk strategy because it's probably the most favoriteist. I won't use proper English either, Austin. Don't worry.
Thanks.
Just like your paint scheme in the NIS race.
We're gonna go there.
Not proper at all. As we take a look at the battle for second, Agnel Phillip works his way back up there. Laraya's worked it. Nieto's fall back. Here comes Michael Johnson up to that 4th place position. But I think the winning strategy, in all honesty, if you're the 94, the 44, or one of these drivers fighting in this cluster for that 2nd, 4th, and 5th place position, you want to pit right at the 65 to 70 mark. If you can pit there, you bank your way into some type of green-white checkered availability if we need it. Texas really doesn't need it, but we could. You never know if somebody's going to back it in the wall, like we just saw right there with Ross Cato, where he tagged it. You did that slight checkup going into the corner can send these cars around. It's going to be fun to see what they can do. A lot of drivers in the fuel saving mode throughout this field. You can kind of hear it with the throttle inputs that they're going with. Not a lot of shifting either, so you don't see the crazy parts. But for Sam Nieto, he just fell through this field. He was running second, Josh, and then back to the 5th place position, still fighting on that outside with Michael Johnson at 39.
On the topic of strategy, I believe back at the last intermediate track we went to 2 weeks ago in Kansas, I believe the halfway strategy, pitting past halfway and only doing a one-stop, was the winning strategy. That was another race that went caution-free all the way through. Will Texas be the second one in only a handful of races to do that? We still have a lot of time really to tell if that's going to be the case, but we're about 10 laps away from that fuel window opening, and Kevin King, guys, has put a considerable lead over the rest of the field. That's 1.5 seconds. The 29 Chevy Camaro is looking in his mirror and barely seeing the 44 of Michael Laraya as he runs Texas night before the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship from the virtual Phoenix Raceway and actually I think virtual Homestead Miami Speedway now, and live from the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yeah, with this massive lead, it comes because of a different couple reasons. You know, he's obviously saving his tires a lot better, but he's also so smooth on his drive into turns 1 and 2. That's where the difference is made at this track. You know, if you've raced it in the sim or practiced it, you just know that turns 1 and 2, there's so many different lines that you can choose, but there's one that's really going to be the best, and that's at the bottom, and that's not over driving those corners, and it's so easy to do, and so that's why you've seen this massive spread. And looks like Agnell has got his internet doing better, which he's probably not in any control of, but he was a little squirrely off the corner out there off of 4, so the 2's probably licking his chops trying to get these positions back. As looks like the 43, yes, he's still a lap down, he's going to gain a little bit, but he's being respectful, though. It looked like he lifted off of turn number 2 there, but these guys are going to be a non-factor as time rolls on, and our top 5 is 3 seconds back from Kevin.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Sean Kalis, is he's one of the most respectful drivers on the racetrack, does not want to interfere in any type of race situation for the SK Sim Racing driver. You see how much quicker he is going into the entry of the corner on the fresher tires, 2 laps down in the 19th position. Just a smart overall racer, and that's a guy that you want in your league. He's one of those dudes that you're like, man, I want somebody here who is competitive and that can be smart around other drivers. But he gets caught up in a lot of people's messes as well, which is not lucky for him. Just like Sam Nieto got caught up in the Agnell Phillip internet issue. And maybe for Agnell, it was just to turn your phone off the Wi-Fi before you jump into the sim, or if your smart TV is connected, maybe don't connect your smart TV, or maybe tell the hamster to start running a little faster. There's a lot of feasible ideas out here, Josh, that could make the 94, the 851 Pro Chevy run just a little bit faster, as he's going to run a little bit harder here to the outside because Sam Nieto takes 3rd.
Gotta think, 16 laps on these tires. They are starting to get a little bit old. Lap time is into about the mid 31s. We were running about low 30s in qualifying and at the start of this green flag run. We have gone 61 laps, all of them under the green flag. We have still not slowed for any yellow flags yet tonight, as 15 drivers stay on the lead lap. But Terry, you're just trying to make it worse. You're really going for the jinx.
I'm looking in the mirror, and I'll say it 3 times. Caution, caution, caution. Nothing. And it's not working tonight.
You don't even get to see the fancy LED lights light up on the catch fence on the front straightaway.
That's what you really want to see, right? You just want to see the cool fencing, right?
Well, I just like clapping my hands going, oh, the pretty colors.
Well, as I was saying, Ross Cato fell through the field and pretty hard. I mean, he lost a good handful of positions even since that battle that we were watching a solid handful of laps ago. He's P14 and still has pressure. I mean, Landon Mills is about 4/10 back. There you can see that rocket pop colored number 26 behind him. But he is almost the last driver on the lead lap. Cato's into turn number 1. Kevin King's entering turn number 3.
Yeah, on opposite sides of the track. And like I said earlier, you're going to be around this window. The window has opened to come and pit this time by, so we're already seeing some drivers come in. I feel it's a little too early, but if they can make it this far, they can pretty much make it the rest of the way. Just, you know, when are you going to actually do it? That's the other thing, is that if you're already not one of the fastest drivers, you do have to kind of wait for the leader to come down pit road at some point, because otherwise you run the risk of coming down and being 2 laps down if that dreaded caution does come out. Although a lot of these guys would love for that to happen so they can get a reset now that they understand what has gone on since the green flag has dropped. 63 green flag, 64 green flag laps has gone by, and we're still seeing some drivers get a little sideways off of 4. And you know, I'm not trying to say that one thing or the other is going to happen, but I mean, these cars are not driving nearly as good as they used to, because it's just not as easy to handle.
I think you're trying to say a caution flag could potentially wave over the Texas Motor Speedway for the RealSimRacing Cup Series playoff race here at Texas. But we're looking at a good battle right here between Johnson and Bradley Burke. Burke had a decent run into the corner as he couldn't necessarily find his way there, but the good part about this is, and if you look at your scoring pylon to the left-hand side of this screen, Michael Araya very diligently is working his way up to the battle to make it a battle for the race lead. He's got it under a second on Kevin King. I don't know if Kevin's potentially saving to try to stretch that fuel just a little bit longer and do what I talked about, Josh. Split this race directly in half. Give yourself an opportunity for any shenanigans if we have them towards the latter part of this race to put ourselves in a green-white checker predicament, as now it's 0.7 of a second and dropping.
Now, looking at our last couple of races here, Austin, a couple of weeks ago at Kansas, Kevin King was the winner. That was the last race he won an RSR competition. But Matt Danson, who did the one stop, he cut the race in half, ran out of fuel in turn 4, coming to the checkered flag. Is that going to be a concern, as we've got cars on pit road? Agnell Phillip leads Bradley Burke in.
Yeah, I don't believe that's be a big problem this time, because they're actually splitting it in half. And then with them going so much slower at the end of that last run, not using nearly as much throttle, I think they're going to be fine on fuel. But at the end of this race, they may still be just concerned about it a little bit. But yes, pit stops are on their way, and you can see the leader has also ducked down, and he's given up to the 44 Michael Laria. He has also come down pit road, so full service for everybody. This is the time to come down. They're splitting the race in half.
Wetmore's in, Pancari is in. That only leads a handful of drivers that are on the lead lap that have not come into the pit lane. There's Kevin King in his pit stall. Michael Araya comes in. Michael Johnson expected next. There's the 39. There's Grant Davis right on time behind. And there's Cody Harris. He's not going to go for any fancy strategy. He pits with the rest of the field. Benazzi Major is on a 23-lap stint, and Terry, as we sit now, it looks like the Spotify number 82 Chevy Camaro is going to assume the race lead on that alternate strategy. Sean Casto, Eric Papanow, also 2 drivers that are not with the rest of the field in terms of stint numbers.
Yeah, I mean, to quote the great Larry McReynolds, if you sit around all day and you follow the race leader, at the end of the race when the checkered flag waves, you were literally just going to be stuck in the same position that you were in when you initially started the race. You're giving yourself an opportunity to be different. For Benazzi Major, for Sean Casto, did anybody have it on their bingo card that he might potentially advance into the next round? No, we didn't. So if you're the driver of the 52, why not do something different? Why not bank for a caution flag to wave and give yourself great track position? And that's no shot at Sean Casto, not making one at all. There's just so much competition over here that it's like, well, if I sit here and just run third all day, you know, and I don't do anything different, I'm just going to finish third. He was mired back 13th, 14th, 15th before all of this started to transpire, and he's up here in the second. He gets a caution flag now, Austin. He's in a great spot to capitalize on a ton of points and to potentially see if he has the speed to carry up with Lariah, with Phillip, Nieto, or Michael Johnson. Even Tom Wetmore sitting back there in 11th. He was ahead of him at one point in time. If he can get that flip, it'll be a big shakeup in this race.
Many drivers have found themselves in this position where they're, they don't have the track position they want, a long green flag run, and you got your options. Like, okay, what do I do? What am I like you said, am I just gonna stay here in 15th all day, or am I gonna give it a shot? And with the way the lap cars are right now, like your first car lap down is in 18th, and you will be really fast when you get those tires. You'll just be playing catch up the rest of the way. So that feels a lot more fun than sliding back all race if you pit early, or pitting when everyone else does and then you're kind of back. You feel like you got a little bit of advantage. You feel like you've got a little bit of something still going on. So it's something that is a little bit more fun, but you definitely don't want to look at the scorer pylon, the scoring pylon, whenever you're doing this strategy, because you just have to run your own race at that point. So that's what Manatzi Major, Sean Casto are doing. And what's kind of crazy about this strategy, though, is that Kevin King's only 7 seconds behind them, and well, he took tires 5 laps ago. So that is something to keep in mind.
King also passed Eric Papineau, and now Michael Lariah passes Eric Papineau. So I don't think that U.S. Army number 37 Chevy Camaro is really doing that well in that alternate strategy. Here comes Sam Nieto, and here comes Agnel Phillip to also work their way past Papineau. Eliminated from the playoffs as well from Bristol as they try and tuck in behind the 2, but 24 lap old tires versus 6 lap old tires on the drivers that are around him. The Nazi Major 29 laps on the stint counter, and Kevin King was closing in, but he's running faster lap times, but it's kind of stalled out. 31 flat last time by for the 84. A 30.488 last time by for Kevin King in the 29, but it's 3 seconds the gap, and it just extended its way back to about 3.1 for Kevin King to catch Sean Casto, who Casto's running some pretty fast lap times as well, still 2.7 back from race leader Major.
It's going to be a big challenge for a lot of these drivers to just get themselves in a spot. And I'm almost positive that Kevin King is potentially just saving just a little bit. I know he pitted right at the halfway mark. I think it was 1 lap after the halfway for him to come down the pit lane. But I know in the back of their minds that they're thinking potentially that we are going to see a yellow flag at one point in time in this race. And I don't know if I don't know if we're going to get a caution flag, Austin, but I would almost bank on one at some point in time. Plus, I do just want to see the yellow lights wave around here.
No, I think you're the one who's for it, and I'm the one who's not. I love this when you're in the driver's seat and you feel like you're in the most control, because restarts can be some of the most stressful and tough things to do. We saw that happen this past weekend, where someone who probably could have won, but choked it away, said that themselves. That can happen. And if you're Kevin King, that's not likely to happen. But if you're Manatzi Major, Sean Casto, and you've got pro driver Kevin King of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola series, that might be a little tough on you. So some of these guys would probably like it to go get that caution, but I personally love having these long green flag runs, looking at the lap times, looking on who's on the freshest rubber. That would be the 44 of Michael Lariah, as I have finally said the right time for the first time. And yeah, it looks like Papineau is on some of the oldest tires with Manatzi Major, but Papineau is an 8th, and that's kind of the problem for him, is he's going to start losing positions just because he's on 20 lap old tires more than everybody else.
Papineau still falling as well, but he's not giving up on that 2-stop strategy just yet. We'll see if any of those drivers running the 2-stop strategy is going to work, as that battle for the lead is now within 1 second. The 82 of Manatzi Major trying to hold on, with Sean Casto in the 52 trying to catch up. This feels to me, Terry, a little bit like the last season's playoff race here at Texas. Weirdly, I was also play-by-play and producer for that one as well, but I remember the long green flag run to the end. I remember drivers on alternate strategy leading until about 5 to go before the inevitable Agnell Phillip ended up winning the race. I'm wondering if we're going to see some of the same thing. Do we think these two stop strategy drivers are going to catch back up by the time that checkered flag is ready to fall?
That's tough to say, because if you were going to make this pit stop and you were going to make it work, if you're Major or Casto, you need to pit like, I don't know, 2 laps ago when you had a decent enough lead to make this work. You're now giving time back to Kevin King. You're giving time back to Lariah. You don't want to do that. We'll see if Sean Casto can get the point for leading a lap, or is Kevin King going to make this pass before we get around here? It looks as he's going to get that point that he's looking for. King's going to go for second on Minotzi Major. He'll make this pass effortlessly through the center of the corner. Lap led for the 52, but if you're those two drivers, Austin, you're coming down pit lane this time by.
I would say that would be a good idea, but they're only on 24 lap old tires. I just think they're in a really sticky situation. But you also have to think of what position did they come down pit road, because the 52 started in dead last in this field. So if you pit now, there's like really no, unless you're like leagues ahead of everybody else. Like, I guess if you could just take Kevin King and just say, well, he's the X, just don't worry about him. He's the X factor of this race. Just worry about everyone else and those points that you can create for yourself if that caution still comes out. I think you got to stay out at this point. You've made your bed, now you got to sleep in it. And yeah, these two drivers being on 25 and 39 lap old tires is not that much more. It's only 10 and 14 lap old tires than everybody else, but that's starting to make a big difference, as we saw Kevin just make easy work of those passes. But the battle for that behind them, that is starting to cook up real nicely between the 2 and 94 of Agnell Phillip, if we can see him.
If we can see him, indeed, as they work their way off of turn number 2. But let's say we see that dreaded certain colored flag that I don't think any of us are really particularly looking to see, other than Terry maybe wanting to see some cool LEDs on the catch fence on the front straightaway. However, if we do see it come out, does that throw a wrench in the one-stop strategy? If you're Kevin King, do you pit? Let's say it came out right now, 48 laps to go. Do you make the stretch into the pit lane, or do you stay confident on your one-stop strategy and on your tires and fuel capacity that you don't come into the pits and you stay out, run only one time down into the pit lane? Or do you take one of those fresh tire sets, you top it off with Sunoco fuel, and you get back onto the track with 47 to go?
You'd be an idiot not to pit. If the caution flag waves, you would look like the dumbest person in the school if you walked in and you're like, I'm not pitting, I'm going to stay out because everybody else is coming down the pit lane. I can promise you that. I mean, cars that are a lap down would come down pit lane just to get 4 fresh tires on this thing. There's no way in hell Kevin King is going to stay on the racetrack if the caution flag waved now. I was like, nope, I'm committed. One-stop strategy. He would get his doors blown off before we got to the back straight away. That's how big of a difference it would make here.
Yeah, the lap times at the beginning of the race, Terry, we were seeing low 30.1s. The fastest lap by Eric Papineau was a 30.083, and we're running almost 31s already. So that difference will be immediate. And it only gets worse the longer we go on. I mean, if we were on 10 lap old tires, I still think they would come down, because we still have 3 more sets, I believe, that are left for these drivers to use. And so you gotta come down. There's just, I mean, unless we have ourselves like multiple wrecks and such, that's the only time when I think at a track like this you really start to conserve that. But yeah, not quite not quite the strategy I would choose, at least. But something to note here, Landon Mills, he was doing pretty well earlier on in this race, and he finds himself in the 18th position, 2 laps down. I'm not certain what happened to him. He started in the back, got all the way up to the front, and now finds himself 2 laps down. So we'll have to get the scoop on that maybe later. But he was doing really well earlier, and so at this point, it's hard to come back. But he's the only driver a lap down. So if we do have an accident, he'll be the first one to get back on the lead lap, or attempting to get back on the lead lap, as we're seeing the 52 lose another spot.
That is Casto losing a spot to Nieto. Further back, Grant Davis has caught the back bumper of Bradley Burke. He has Michael Johnson in tow. 3 playoff drivers battling here for P6, and that's when Minotzi Major is finally going to pull the trigger and go down into the pit lane. This is the 82 on the 2-stop strategy with 43 to go. They hit the pit lane. They will go 1 lap down. When they're going to get that lap back is a mystery, because they will have fresh Goodyear tires, but only by 24 laps. We're looking at about 5 to 6 tenths lost at the current moment. Terry, I don't think the 82 strategy is going to work out, of course, unless we get that yellow flag, and we get it soon.
Yeah, he would need a caution flag to wave, I would say, 2 to 5 laps after they get off the pit lane. So, 40 to go, 37 to go, you're going to need something to work your way. You haven't had the luck, I would say, all season long. If you're the 82 of Minotzi Major, you got to have some here. If you want this strategy to play out, by the time you get to the back straightaway, coming to maybe 35 laps to go in this race, the caution flag waves, I'm staying out in that situation, especially given the fact that their net gain at this moment, it's none for Minotzi Major. It's a flat 0. You came in where you came out. If the caution flag waves for Casto, it's a net gain of a ton. You started dead last on the field. You didn't really have the speed to drive up through it. If it comes out, you're sitting 7th, everybody pits with you. You maybe gain a spot, maybe you lose a spot. No harm, no foul. Who cares? Take advantage of that restart and lean on somebody's door. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you lean on somebody's door so much you kind of get Kyle Larson them, and they spin around, lose it, and hey, there's a free spot, one less person to worry about, and you get to walk out of here with a top 7, top 5 run potentially.
The difference between those 2 drivers, Minotzi and Sean Casto, is that Minotzi had still like 10 lap older tires than even Sean did, so Sean can still afford to be out here. He's only got 10 lap older tires than everybody, so like at some point you can start getting diminishing returns on the wear, and I think we're starting to see him start to slide into a comfortable spot. I mean, he's still in the top 10, and we're about to 30 laps to go, a little under 40 actually. And the 95 is going to duck down to the bottom side. That's Brandon Burke. He's going to get to the bottom side. He's going to probably make this pass pretty easily, but he's still got some distance between him and the guys behind him. They're 12 seconds back, and they're still about 7.5, 8 seconds. So it could still be a net gain for him, like you were saying. And hey, if you get a caution, that's wonderful. Then you can try and make the most out of a restart, but. Right now, Kevin King, we said he had a big lead earlier, and the 44 does not let him go that much. I mean, they're still about 1.6 seconds apart from each other, and I would say that with him coming in a lap later, it gives him this tiny bit advantage. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but he's still staying close.
Kind of back into that same, I don't want to say lull, but the same kind of situation that we saw kind of midway through that last run and towards the end of the run as well, where everybody's just kind of spread out. This is the closest battle on the track right now, Grant Davis versus Michael Johnson, watching the battle for 5th here. But you go back half second between Harris and Wetmore, a half second between Bakari and Cato, half second between Cato and Stanford, a half second between Stanford and George, and that's about all the closest battle we see. Everybody else is spread out by about 1 second, but 35 laps remaining as King still leads 17 spots up from where he began. in the opening race of the round of 12. Where we sit right now, guys, that's, of course, Agnell Phillip at the top, not getting the points for a win, but with those 3 bonus points that he earned from winning Bristol last week, he sits above Michael Laraya, currently our top running playoff driver. But under the cut line, Wetmore, George, Cato, and Fetter Place. And Terry, I want to get your thoughts on this because I talked about it with Austin when we opened the show. Brandon Fetter Place getting in off of the suspension and the disqualification last week of Matt Danson. He barely squeaked in, and I don't want to put it like this, but he did not earn the spot in the round of 12. He was given the spot post-race by official decision. So he has a lot of work to do to try and get into the next round, because technically he was not meant to be in this round in the first place.
Well, damn.
Very well. Just how it is.
Very, very well point. But shots fired to Brandon Fetter Place. But look, where do we go next week, Josh?
Talladega.
We go to Talladega. Every single person in this field that shows up to race at the 2.66 mile super speedway track that we're going to see in the heart of Talladega, Alabama, has a damn shot to win. And if you're Brandon Fetter Place in the 34, you circle that track and you Ricky Stenhouse Jr. the fire out of that thing. You ain't good anywhere else. Sorry. You didn't earn your spot into this round. Why not shake the playoffs up? Because if he wins that race, he advances. He takes a spot away from a Burke, a Casto, a Cody Harris, who has not had the run that I thought he was going to have here at Texas, sitting there in a 9th place position. Granted, we still think at some point in time the 52 of Casto is going to slip off into existence with 31 laps to go. But you steal that position away. And not only do you steal the position away, you piss off somebody that's sitting inside that top 8 that could potentially go to the round of 8 to win one of those 3 racetracks, and you set yourself up for success. Go on, Brandon Fetter Place, get yourself a win.
I hope he proves me wrong. I want him in the round of 8. I was just putting it how it was. He got into this round off of Evan's decision post-race.
As I said,
we're blaming Evan.
I'm not blaming Evan either. I'm just saying, I'm just laying out the facts here.
As I said earlier, he got the Jeff Gordon treatment, and we're not upset by it. And so,
no, not at
all. So, talking about Casto, he is still running some decent laps, but considerably, he's about 0.7 a second off of the drivers around him. So, we will keep an eye on him as he's still running out there. One way or another, like you were saying, Terry, he's either going to fall down pit road or he's going to fall through the field. It's just one or the other. But he's doing still decently, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, watch the 44. He has gained 4/10 since I last talked about him. I'm still keeping my eye on this 44 of Laraya, and he's catching up. He's not quite there yet, and even if he gets there, I'm not sure he'll have much form. But hey, guys, we still have just less than 30 laps to go, and there's still a lot of time. He just lost a little bit of time there, so I guess I'll back up a little bit right there. But that lead is dropped quite a bit in the last 5 to 10 laps, so just something to watch. Nothing yet, but we're getting to the point where we're talking about the difference between 1 lap of pitting. If you pit early, sometimes it's good. If you pit later, you get the advantage of tires.
Well, and just food for thought here, and I'll play devil's advocate for a second. What if the 29's saving? What if he's backing out of it to not burn it up, going, all right, I'm going to toy with you a little bit. We talked experience a while ago. Like we talked about it. You got a Coke Series driver, and then you have the rest of the field that I believe are just as qualified if they went through the Road to Pro circuit, got themselves into contender. They could be a viable threat for a Coke Series ride at some point in time. That's the level of competition here in RSR. We've seen it time and time again in this league that drivers develop so much better here And for Kevin King, he learned a ton about the next-gen car, saving the tire, learning to manage the race, and that has played dividends to what they did in the 2023 season for the eNASCAR series, where they took fixed setups and said, hey, boys, I know some of y'all run Makoni, some run API, you have house build setups, but hey, guess what? Sorry, we're going to fix setup this thing, and we're going to see what you could do. Kevin King had some of his best races fixed setup wise, and I said it when we called a little while ago at Bristol with Garrett Maines. He walked the dog on them boys in the NIS race, and I think every driver in the field next season, if Garrett Maines continues on, goes, please eNASCAR, don't make Bristol a fixed setup race. But right now, maybe potentially Kevin King is just going, I could toy with him a little bit, make him burn his stuff up.
I can tell you firsthand, he did stomp the field. I was there. I witnessed that. I was a part of it, unfortunately. But yeah, these
we were more
setups,
focused on your paint scheme getting fixed.
Hey, I was working. I was busy.
Evan was too, but he still found time, you know.
He found time. I don't think I could multitask like that, but
he did three things at once.
That, you know what? Man of many talents, right?
But a master of none.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, the three things he was doing was fixing the paint, commentating, and scolding me. That's about all he did during that Bristol 500.
Oh, well, then he was doing four because he was watching the NASCAR Truck Series from Milwaukee as well. I was watching his screen the entire time.
You know,
valid.
It's really great that we get to talk about him when he's right here and
he's not listening.
He can't say anything.
Can't say nothing.
But I will say, I think you're right about this battle. It's getting pretty close between these front two guys now. To get back to Biz, it's under half a second, guys. I think you're right though, Terry. Knowing Kevin and running with some of these guys before, like, he's without a doubt not pushing. The 44, without a doubt, is. I think within the next few laps, we're going to see what Kevin really has. He's going to get to his bumper here in the next couple laps, and then I think we're going to see Kevin King go, all right, I'll let you have a little bit of the whiff of my dust. Hey, I'll see you in about 20 laps when I win the race.
That was the last lap times on that battle graphic, by the way, so it was a little bit closer that last time by, but you saw the 0.2 difference between Lariah and King just about one lap ago. 20 laps remaining. It's Lariah versus King at the front. You got to look back 3 seconds to find the still blinking Agnell Phillip in the 94. Look back another 1.2 seconds to find Sam Nieto. Look back another 8/10, you'll find Grant Davis. And that's the top 5 that we've got so far here in the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series Round of 12 opener for the playoffs here on RaceSpotTV. We're happy again that all of you are joining us as we go over to 19 laps to go. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth, joined by Austin Coop and Terry Radford, fresh off of the World of Outlaws Thrustmaster Sprint Car Championship Series qualifiers. And how was that first round of the qualifying series? I know I covered the qualifying series for the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars a couple of years ago, but how'd they do in first round of the qualifying series? Anybody sticking out yet?
Same old. Blake Majulis from Majulis Speed Shop doing exactly where he left off, and Logan Rumsey still running good. Just a surprise to me to see that group of names be in the qualifying series this season. Obviously, his teammate Evan C. Getting it done over there in the late model side of things, winning the championship for that team, and Logan coming up just ever so short to getting that championship away with a late caution that brought it out, wrecking for Evan C. And it's fun because they go within a blink of an eye. It's like you start at 9 o'clock, 9:20, you're done. Very quick shows. This is a quick battle that could potentially end very soon, as Tom Wetmore worked his way past Cody Harris there, and Eric Papanow still a lap down there in 17th. Pay no mind to him in this one in the U.S. Army Chevrolet, but Tom Wetmore doing a good job trying to go to a place next week, Josh, that he has had some success, has not found a win, but in the past 3 plate tracks or super speedways we've been to, he has been in a position to win with 5 laps to go in every single one of them as Cody Harris goes to the inside into 3.
I've been
this
still
battle has
waiting
been
on
fun.
Wetmore to get that first win in a plate track.
Yes, this has been a fun battle between these two as well. You know, it's the closest battle on track other than the battle for the lead, and they're still side by side with a handful of laps left. And this has been fun. We saw Tom go on the inside. Now we're seeing Cody go to the inside, and just got a little good battle here. They're giving each other enough space. So that 37 as a good note is letting them battle this out. You know, I will say that, you know, RSR is usually those lap cars will give you the space. Terry, you talked about it earlier, and I'll be honest with you. When we did it, when I was with this group 5 years ago, I don't know if I saw that that often. So things have changed since I used to run with this group.
Well, I mean, we give Evan a lot of grief, but the respect level has changed over the years. I know I just came on last season onto this series, but watching prior series back, it's like the respect level just dumped out across the drivers. Once a new group of drivers came into this one, they got to know each other rather quickly. We had a massive turnover from last season to this season, from the Winter Series to the Cup Series. There was a decent amount, Josh, that we watched start Daytona that are still here, but they've learned so much. I mean, throughout this entire season, I don't think any of us picked the drivers that was going to make the 16 drivers that would make the playoffs, nor did we think that we would have that short of a winner list. We saw a massive winner list, a lot of first-time winners last season, Gateway people getting it done. We saw strategy galore, and now this season, we're coming to 13 or 12 laps to go this time by. Spoilers have really been the story of this one because Kevin King's kind of came in and played spoiler on everybody's party.
A solid amount of drivers grabbing wins this season as well. Not a lot of them earning enough minimum participation to run in the playoffs. Kevin King over the radio saying at this point that he is worried about that fuel.
Called it,
He
son.
wants to be able to start pushing over the next 5 laps, but with 12 to go, he's got the 44 of Lariah. How nervous is he about that fuel tank?
Oh boy, well, he's got that one extra lap of fuel. That is a big difference at this point in the race. I think Kevin will be fine, and I think he was, like you said, Terry, holding off a little bit, but when you have someone running you down, you've got to go at some point or you lose the lead. So now the lead has been chopped down to its most closest amount since the beginning of the race. We're under 3/10 between these two, and man, he's catching it at a rate where I'm just thinking that Michael's got a shot at this. We got 10 laps to go this time by. We've got a shot at seeing a battle for the lead here.
Well, here we go. 10 laps to go. Kevin King holds the race lead over the 44, Michael Araya. I called it. I'll toot my own horn for a second. I knew that something had to be going on with the 29, not to discredit the run that the 44 has had, but he had a 1.4 second lead, and if he was able to stay under the throttle, I think we potentially would have kept it 1.1 there. But for the 44, to your point, Austin, he has a grand opportunity in front of him to say, I don't need points. You know, show up, show out, do what you got to do. Take this win. Don't go up and hope that Kevin King runs out. Take it. Take a look there. That shift into 4th gear. Lower the RPMs a little bit. Save the fuel. Let's see what he does. Down the back straightaway, he shifts to 5th instantaneously. And that was a little bit of a connectivity issue in front of him. And he's going to need, if you're Michael Araya, who's not saving at all, Josh. She is not saving one bit. He's on the loud pedal trying to get this done. Get up and move him out of the way. Just uproot him.
How confident is Lariah with his fuel tank? How aggressive is he going to be for this win? He's going to have to try and move an eNASCAR competitor, but Lariah is racing for a spot in the round of 8. How big is this going to be for the number 44 Sim Speed Shop Chevy Camaro if he is the first one to qualify for the next round of the playoffs? Not an Agnel Phillip, not a Sam Nieto, not any other driver. How about Michael Lariah with a shot at qualifying for the next round off of a win?
Oh man, he is there. He's showing his cards right now too, because he's right there. One car length going down the back straightaway with a handful of laps to go. And I mean, It's on like Donkey Kong, guys. I mean, it is time to show what you got, and because it's gonna take a few laps to get the pass completely done. You know, you can't do it on the last lap like a Talladega or a Bristol unless you absolutely like just blow him up into turn 1. But I don't see that happening. He's gonna go to the outside, battle for the lead.
Here comes Michael Araya in the 44 to the outside in 1 and 2. He tries to pull the 29 down the back straightaway. Who's going to get the lead into 3? Laraya's going to have the advantage by only inches. King holds on the bottom. He gets tight. Almost comes up into the door of the 44 as they stay side by side to the front straightaway. 5 to go at the line with King on the bottom.
King holds the lead right there by 2/100ths of a second, but Laraya slams that thing down into turns 1 and 2, washes up a little bit, but he gets the momentum down the back straightaway. They'll go wheel to wheel here once more. Laraya holds the race lead, but maybe by an eyelash or so as they go into turns 3 and 4. King back down to the bottom. He holds it about a foot or so off of the white line. Laraya to the lead, and he holds it this time by half a car length.
Oh, this is so close between those two, and they're giving each other just enough room to race, but only enough room to race and nothing more. I think the 44 is going to have it going out of 2 right here, but it's not over. He's going to get on his left rear quarter panel, and he's going to get right next to him, door to door. Oh, wow, what a huge pull on that left rear that he got right there, and big advantage to King this time. And if this keeps up, and you got to think about whether they're going to have fuel in the last lap or not, but King has still a little bit left. He's making it exciting at least. And
He's
lap
still
traffic
holding
too.
his own on the bottom with lap traffic on the way as well. Laraya up top. That might be the better line
He got
as
it.
he works his way through 1 and 2. And Laraya is going to clear Kevin King. Casto gets out of the way almost. They still got to catch him before he's fully out of the way. But new race leader, Michael Laraya in the 44. 2 to go at the line.
Well, and he pulled him. It's 0.2 of a second through 3 and 4. Now off the corner, they'll come to 2 laps to go. 0.2 separate our race lead. Can Michael Laraya, Austin, lock himself into the round of 8 by beating the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, the 29 of Kevin King?
But you have to also to think, he was on the outside for all of that time. Did he use more fuel during those couple laps or few laps that he was on the outside? I don't think so. I think he's got plenty of time, but it's time to know whether or not it's the case. Joshua, it's all yours, buddy.
1 lap to figure it out. The white flag is out from Texas. Does Laraya have enough fuel to get back to the checkered flag? Kevin King, remember 2 weeks ago at Kansas when Danson ran out of fuel. He was there to pick up the pieces. He was there to get the checkered flag. But into turn 3, it looks like the 44 Sim Speed Shop Chevy Camaro might be good to the checkered flag. Coming out of turn 4, Charlotte gave him his playoff spot, and now Texas gives him his round of 8 spot. It's Michael Laraya for Flat Out Esports. He is going to the round of 8 with the win in Texas.
What a win. What a statement. He got up there and got it done. He had to compete with one of the best drivers that has come into this series all season long. We talked about Agnell Phillip. Then Kevin King showed up, and it has been the Kevin King show. But tonight, Laraya balled out, son. Went to the outside, made that pass happen, and earned his way into that round of 8. And we'll see. He's worry-free next week. He can do whatever he wants. It's Talladega time.
Oh man, what a great ending to this race. You know, we talked about the fuel. We talked about how, you know, the tire strategy, and, you know, we talk about how Kevin is really pretty darn good. He's the one to beat when it comes to, you know, these kind of tracks, but he's done an amazing job of setting the precedent. And so Michael, he's going to burn it down here. Michael beat him, you know, fair and square, whether it was a little bit of fuel or whether it wasn't. But even Kevin said at the very end after the race, he said, I don't know how you pulled that off on the outside. And that's a great compliment to come from a Coke driver, guys.
Michael Laraya burns it down on the front straightaway. That's 2 intermediate track wins for the 44 in 2023. Let's take a look at those full race results before we get to talk with our winner, Michael Araya in the 44. We'll also hear from Kevin King and Agnel Phillip, the top 3 finishers here from Virtual Texas. Sam Nieto, Grant Davis, 4th and 5th, with Bradley Burke, Michael Johnson, Cody Harris, Tom Wetmore, and Ross Cato finishing out the top 10, Austin.
Yeah, Brett Picari, he finishes 13th. Eric Stanford, 12th. Thomas George, 13th. Better Place finishes 14th. And then we got Manatsi Major, 15th. Eric Papanow, 16th. Sean Cassidy, 17th. Landon Mills, 18th. Richard Wolfshire, he's going to finish 19th. Sean Kalis, he's going to finish 20th. And then Steve Tucker, don't know where Sam come from, but Steve Tucker, he's going to round us out 21st place.
That is the full finishing order of drivers here from Virtual Texas, sponsored by Get Wet Sports. GetWetSports.com is the first digital content library that showcases and celebrates creators of all sizes and backgrounds, including iRacing, military gamers, and women in gaming. Getting listed is free. Find out more at GetWetSports.com and start on your content creation journey today. It is Michael Araya that walks away with the win, but he's still burning it down on the front straightaway. So, Terry, what do you say? We start off with 3rd place. You're standing by with Agnel Phillip in the A51 Pro Chevy.
Yeah, and Agnel, you had a little bit of a connectivity issue. I gave you some tidbits on how to fix that for the next time, but you had an up and down race, lost a couple spots when you had a little bit of an internet issue, but you reworked yourself into 3rd, and you would be the clear-cut favorite if you don't get a win to move your way on points into the round of 8.
Appreciate that, Terry. Yeah, you're gonna have to send me those tidbits because I don't think the internet service provider knows where the issue is. Weird race for sure. Bummed that the connection issues from last week have continued, but tried to make it as not of an issue while racing. People didn't really want to go side by side very often, only really went for passes when it was like pretty clear that I could do it in like a corner, but yeah, just tried to keep it clean and bring home a solid finish, and hopefully we get these connection issues sorted out over the next few weeks.
Who is your internet provider?
Optimum.
So. Do you have an opportunity to get Xfinity 10G?
No, I unfortunately do not. I think Optimum's the only option in this part of town.
We're gonna call them. You send me their number.
Okay.
All right. Got you. It's not like Optimum Tax Relief, is it?
No. It is a.
Damn.
I believe it's owned by whatever company owns Spectrum also.
So that's why it sucks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We have an amazing internet infrastructure in this country, as I'm sure many people have really praised it. Yeah, no, it's great. I love not having choices. Anyway, we'll keep trying to figure it out. Maybe it's something on the off chance it's something on my system's end. We'll try to get it figured out. But I think at the end of the day, next week at Talladega might be a little bit different just because of how close we are to everybody. But for the most part, I've raced around people that blink out and have connectivity issues, and you can do it if you take good care of it. So and try to give people space. So I think we'll be all right. It might be a little annoying for the rest of the field for the next couple of weeks while we try to get it sorted.
Well, I gave you as good things. Maybe potentially switching it to Wombo could be a good issue. I don't know how to fix it. Not the smartest tool in the shed, but congratulations on your 3rd place finish tonight, and we'll see if you go stone them in Talladega.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's Agnel Phillip coming home P3, and not too sure who we pass it on to next, but we got our winner, and we got Kevin King.
I'll take Kevin King here in the 2nd place here. Kevin, you finished 2nd place, and you led the most laps, but something came short. Was it fuel? What was it there for you at the end that you weren't able to get it done there at the end?
I don't know, man. I felt like I had a pretty good pace. He was just he was good that first run. He definitely was good that first run. I was trying to save a little fuel at the end of the first stint so I could make it an extra lap. knowing that it would help if I had to go harder the second stint. And I noticed he was pretty good, so I was like, okay, well, he's going to be there. And I don't think I had the best in lap, because I only came out, I think, like a second and a half ahead of him. But yeah, I was saving fuel that entire second run, clutch and all that fun stuff, thinking it would help me if I needed to shift. And I don't know what I did wrong that second time, but for whatever reason, he sent it in the corner and it stuck. And I was like super impressed, because normally that's not a thing. So I was like, oh boy, like if he can do that, there's really nothing that I can really do to defend it, because you only have so much grip.
Yeah, we noticed that you guys were side by side, and then one lap he shot right past you. And I think that was what you said it over the radio as well. We heard you say that you were impressed by that, which is, when we talk about you coming to these races, you kind of set the bar of what excellence is at the racetrack, and so you're kind of the bar. And so finishing second obviously is still really great in this series, but for you, your expectations to come and get some wins, because you're not part of this championship picture. And so for you going on in these next few weeks, you've got some more races to go in here. So like, getting wins, of course, that's the goal. But for you, like, what kind of brings you to RSR every week when you run these races?
I just have a good time. I had some people in my chat ask the same thing. I really have a good time racing long green flag runs. Strategy comes into play. There's respectful racing. It doesn't mean there's like 300 super nutty fast guys that are typically not always the best, because it makes the racing always more boring and just not fun to be in typically. But these guys are really good. I mean, obviously you see people like Michael Lara, people like, who is he? And he's someone who's obviously very good. Not to say I'm like the top of the top, but it's not a pushover when you come to these races. It's very fun. I enjoy all of it. I mean, this is probably the second race that I've been a part of recently that's gone flag to flag, which is it's fun. I mean, you don't get that anymore. We have such short races in Coke, and officials are kind of a mess. So being able to go back to old style racing where you can just have fun with people and not get blocked to the apron every time you pass one for 25th, it's very refreshing. So I just enjoy kind of every aspect of it.
Yeah, I think I've run a few races with you in NIS, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Before we let you go, Kevin, thank you so much for some of your time. You got any last things before we let you go?
No, I just want to give a shout out to all the drivers. I know it wasn't a completely full field, but the setup wasn't the best handling, and like I said, people are very respectful, and people have faster runs, or just at times are faster, and they let you go without making it an issue. So I do miss that. It's very unexpected in general anymore, so I definitely enjoy that aspect of it. Congratulations to Michael. Like I said, he was nutty. I was just talking to him. He was like, kind of surprised himself how much grip he had. I saved as much as I could. I just wasn't enough, and I'll take 18th to second. It sucks not getting a win, but you can't be too hung up when someone has a really good race themselves. I'm not gonna be one of those guys who expect just to come in here and drive through the field and win every race. That's a little bad mindset for me. I respect these guys too much to think that they're just gonna roll over or not be competitive. So it was very fun. Makes me work a little bit harder and figure out what he did differently than I did. Definitely have fun at the next one. Although it's Talladega, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Talladega. Super speed racing, we'll see. Depends on who else is gonna race, like Blended and stuff like that. But I'm trying to have the most fun as I can as we end Coke and go into the off season.
Yeah, definitely unexpected, unprecedented green flag run. Kevin, thank you for your time. We're going to pass it over to Joshua, who's going to end us out with our final interview. Josh, here you go.
We got Michael Araya joining us here in the booth. And Michael, just hearing from Kevin that you were pretty surprised to even see yourself up here at the top step of the podium. This win, there's your second of the season, another one on an intermediate, brings you into the round of 8. What's the emotions right now?
Just extremely happy. I knew I was a top 3 car going into tonight, and I just knew it was all about executing the whole race. I know the car counts have been down a little bit, so I figured that we would get a long green flag run and possibly, go green the whole time like we did tonight. So it was all about saving enough fuel that first run to really have enough in the bank for the second run to go hard. And that's what I was able to do. Was able to stretch it like an extra lap against really everybody else there. So I think it was a combination of just having a little bit fresher tire than Kevin. And I had a pretty good long run pace too, I felt like, going into this race too. But knowing Kevin, he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. So I really had to be on my game there. And I'm just really happy I was able to, first of all, just close in on him. I mean, that's a accomplishment in of itself, but to actually race them side by side like that and pull off a win is huge. And especially with the stakes that we have here with the playoffs, and be able to lock myself into the next round, it's just awesome.
Back in 2020, you finished third in the championship 4. Last 2 seasons, you have been eliminated out of the round of 12. Does the real work start now? You get a pass for Talladega, you get a pass for the Charlotte Roval, but come the round of 8, work goes back on, but you are locked in.
Yeah, it's definitely it hasn't set in quite yet. It's really nice to know I don't have to worry about Talladega. Oh my gosh, the wild card that race is. And yeah, just being able to now focus forward with the next round in those tracks. I feel like it's going to be very similar to what we had tonight in a way with the mile and a halves. Really just trying to manage your tire, and then at the same time looking at the race distance that we have for those tracks, and calculating what number do I have to get to make it a one-stop race if tires don't fall off enough to do so. So yeah, it's a huge relief. This is really awesome, especially after kind of what transpired last week. Felt like I had a winning car last week, and what can you say? Just Bristol and tempers. So just really good redemption to be able to come back and win tonight.
You see the sponsors on the side of the car. We know you got a team of people behind you, but as you're in victory lane, who you got to thank to getting you to this point and getting you locked into the round of 8?
Yeah, of course, I got to thank Sim Speed Shop for being on board the car for a number of years now. I also got to thank Boosted and my teammates at Flat Out Esports. We've been putting in a lot of work lately for the playoffs, and it's definitely paying off across the board for our whole team. So really proud of the effort we've been putting in there. And of course, I got to thank you guys for doing the broadcast every week.
And congratulations once again on that win, Michael. Hopefully we'll see you in Talladega and maybe in victory lane with a little bit less stress on your shoulders, but congratulations on your win again tonight.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That was Michael Araya, your winner tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, and he gets into the round of 8, guys. Next week, it is not going to be stressful for Michael Araya, but for the rest of the field, I think they're going to be a little bit on pins and needles. It's the second race, the middle race of the round of 12 from Talladega. Austin, then Terry. This is the unknown, the massive unknown. Anything can happen when we go racing on those high banks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we just come to a place that has this kind of speed, this kind of pack racing, we get this. But with the field size that we've been having, there is always an opportunity to have some pitting during green flag, and if that happens, I'd be pretty excited. I won't be able to be here next week. I might be able to watch it, and that would be really fun to watch. I would be a big fan of some green flag racing or green flag pit stops for that, but it is always just a wild card, and who's going to pull the wild card? Who's going to pull the Joker out of the deck? We'll have to see next week, but always fun, and you never know what you're going to get with Talladega. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Good Forrest Gump reference. Yeah, good Alabamian at that. And I'm kind of hoping I get to make a start in this one. Potentially, I'll have to talk to the head admin around here and say, hey, you want to really shuffle the deck, put put me out there and see if I can compete with RSR's best. But no, Talladega is always wild. We've seen some of the craziest finishes from Daytona. We started the season off with pandemonium. A first-time winner getting it done, a rookie locking themselves in. We see it here as well at Talladega every single time we come out here. Who's going to get lucky? Who's going to pull the best move coming to the line? The tri-oval not being where the start-finish line is, going about 75 feet down. It's gonna be a wild one. Can't wait to see what goes on here. But let's get out of this crappy Texas place.
Well, we hope that you'll join us next week as well from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. But for now, we're saying goodnight here from virtual Texas, and a congratulations to Michael Loraya, who walks away with yet another win. 2 on the season, and he locks himself into the round of 8. And we hope that you'll join us for the middle race of the round of 12 from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. For Terry Radford, Austin Coop, my name is Joshua Lee, and congratulations to Michael Loraya, qualifies himself for the round of 8. Anything can happen when we go racing from Talladega, and that's coming up in 1 week's time, same place, right here on RaceSpotTV. And until next time, we say good night from virtual Talladega.